Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with author and community management leader Leslie Alvarez. This native Texan and single mother of two has been a community management leader for over 26 years. She has a small family of three that has lived through multiple challenges that have brought her to her knees. But she believes in the magic of a big comeback, and that plotting the comeback begins with while you were on the floor. Leslie holds a BBA from Texas Women's University, having graduated as an adult learner at the age of 41. She hopes to help those struggling recognize that they are not alone and their comeback strategy is in their hands. It's quite a story. Enjoy.
Before we get into your work and your career, I want to know, 4 years ago, we were all trying to figure out this pandemic. We were knee-deep in it, trying to figure out how long it was going to last. How are we going to get out of it? I know everybody had a different response regionally. But ultimately, how did you make it through that time period, and how did it change the way that you do things now?
Well, ultimately, it didn't really I was one of those required workers. I still went to work every day. I made a few adjustments to my office and how we worked and such, but really we were there every day. And so it really didn't change too much there. How it's affected me now, it's actually been a long struggle for me to get out of the Amazon and Instacart shopping. It's just been so convenient, and it was so easy during the pandemic to just press order and it would show up on your doorstep. And now trying to get back out there to go to the store again, and it doesn't seem like, how did I have that much time before? The time just seems to have evaporated, and I don't know how we made it all happen, but we did.
Yeah, it was bizarre, and I think we're still relatively close enough to it that we probably aren't going to really know how all of this happened until much later on.
Yeah.
So let's get into your life and your work. And, on paper, you're a community management leader, but if I was to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day, and one of the curious kids wanted to know and said, hey, what do you do for a living? Mm-hmm. How would you answer that child with what you do for a living?
Yeah, so, honestly, when I was a little girl, I used to play Barbies all the time. And my idea of playing Barbies was just rebuilding the city that my younger siblings or neighborhood kids would destroy. And that's kind of what I do all day long is just, fix things that other people have torn up in property management. And, I've got the Barbie townhome and the Barbie pool and the Barbie mall and, the driveway and everything. And I just make sure that everything runs smoothly so Barbie can live.
So what did you want to be in the third grade? Was this always kind of in your scope of doing this?
No, absolutely not. This was one of those, you answered an ad and didn't know what you were getting into, and then 26 years later, here you are. I actually, I really wanted to be a wedding planner. I love entertaining and doing parties and things like that, so that's what I wanted to be when I was a little girl. But no, this was just, you answered an ad. But now that I look back at it, when I look back and think about the Barbie doll dream house and the swimming pool and all that stuff, it's like I was meant to be this job.
Well, did you do any event planning or any wedding event planning at all?
I mean, just for friends and family and such, but I never actually did that as a career at all, no.
Gotcha. So let's go back to where you were born and raised and how, you had mentioned growing up, things would get destroyed and you would build it back up. But what were some of the other foundational elements that were a part of what made you so good at this job?
Well, I was born and raised in Houston, Texas, and there's a combination of things that actually happened. I was inner city, like in the little Mexican barrio area, but my maiden name at the time as a child was McDuffie. My mother was Hispanic, my father wasn't. So I didn't speak Spanish or anything like that, but I grew up in this little area. And that was all fine and well and dandy. But to be even better than that, I actually was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. So I grew up with people letting the dogs out to chase me down the street and slamming doors in my face. So I like to say to everybody, this job is so negative and people will just tear you apart, and they try to make it so personal against the manager and such, that I just say I was born for this because I'm used to, having doors slammed in my face and people angry at me. So roll off my back.
But how do you get to that point where is it just the accumulation of time and you're used to it? But because we all have feelings, how do you get over that and put all of that in perspective?
I mean, I always say if you can make it to a year, you'll make it to 2 years. If you make it to 2 years, you'll make it to 5 years, and 5 years will be 10, and it just keeps going. Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of people start in this industry and then turn around and be gone, and they can't take it. They just can't handle it in 2 or 3 months. You've got to have really, really thick skin for the way that these people attack you sometimes.
So, talk a little bit about heroes in your life. Who's been that inspiration for you to do this work and to carry on?
Well, my real life story isn't just about my work. It's actually more about my persevering through being a single parent. So I would say my kids are my hero, and and I'm my own hero. And I'll tell you why I say that. When I was pregnant with my second child, I wasn't working, and my husband and I got divorced. I was young, and I had a 3-year-old daughter, and I didn't have any money. And I was in Houston, and my mother-in-law, who didn't speak any English, very low income, said, I don't have any money to help you, but I can help you help yourself. And she gave me money and sent me down to the grocery store and said, buy these items. And I came back to the house, and she taught me how to make Mexican tamales. And if you are from Texas or from Houston, San Antonio, all that area, people will sell homemade tamales out of the back of their car in a parking lot with a big sign. It's a big deal. And I did that. She said, after I made the batch of tamales, she says, now go up there to the grocery store, sell them, take the money, go back inside and buy more supplies to double your money. And I did that multiple times over the years. And with that, I was able to pay for Christmases that I didn't have money for. I was able to, support myself when I was not working. My daughter and my son played club sports and school sports and everything, because anytime I didn't have enough money, I could just break out the tamale pot. And that perseverance and ability to save myself is something that I actually taught my children. They learned that from me as well. And they've just given me all that strength the whole time. So they were my hero because they gave me the strength to be my own hero. And then now I've watched them do it for themselves, and it's just amazing.
So speaking of inspirations, if you could meet one person alive on the planet right now that you find inspirational, who would that be?
Ooh, one person on the planet that I find inspirational. I don't know. That's a hard one. I find the average person can be inspirational to me. I just don't find that, a celebrity or somebody out there is necessarily the inspiration for me. I find the average person who perseveres every single day and works hard every single day to make things happen. And they save themselves. They're not, waiting for some, assistance or someone else to come in and save them, somebody on a white horse. Those people are inspirational to me every day.
So what is it for you every day to do the work that you do and to be, the mother that you are and all of the things that help you evolve as a human? What is that energy, that gumption every day that wakes you up to do that?
I could say it again. My kids did it for me from a very early age, and it's just a go get 'em hustle. And I will do whatever I had to do to be able to make it happen each and every day for them, so that they get a better life and they see the opportunities that are out there. And they have. I mean, they're grown and they're doing their own things now, and they really and truly recognize, and are appreciative of hardworking people who wake up and recognize that, they have to, do whatever it takes to get it done.
When you look back on your life, especially your work more specifically, was there a time period where you grew the most, where it was both really good and really rough, and it really kind of groomed you to find where your place is?
So, as I was raising my kids, there were a lot of different turning stones and different things that happened in my life. But I would say the first thing that really shook me and made a huge impact on my mindset and my just in general, my mindset and my my emotional personal growth. My son, about a month before he was going to turn 18, actually was he's a survivor of gun violence. And when I got that phone call, I was at work in a meeting, and I, had to jump on a plane and get there as fast as I could. But I realized at that point, the job really will be there. The kids and the family and the loved ones might not. And, you have to really remember that you're there to work so that you can enjoy your family, not that your work family is your family, and really focus on the things that matter, which is the people that care about you each and every day. And so I would say that in general made a huge turning point for me, because I was putting in 60 hours a week. I was working my tail off. Even at the hospital, when I was at the hospital with him, I was working and working really hard and getting some stuff done. And when I got back and he was better, they acted like it was a gift to let me use my vacation time for the time that I was away for the hospital. And it was kind of like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. You don't even appreciate that I was working from the hospital the whole time. And it just really kind of opened my eyes and helped me to see that, I have to focus on what's important to me, and that's my family.
So, what's the best advice you've ever, or actually, let me phrase this. Of all of these things that you've done, and I think I have a pretty good idea of where this might go, but everything that you've done and accomplished and evolved into, and the things that you've overcome, what are you the most proud of?
I am the most proud of the fact that I have survived. And the kids are thriving. They're both adults and, doing the best that they can in their career. I got all the designations, when I was younger. I went back to school. I got my college degree as an adult at the age of 41. Now I have the student loan debt to go along with it. Those are all great things, but the reality of it is, some people just don't make it, and some people mentally are not strong enough to deal with some of the adversities that life throws at you. And the fact that I survived intact and have overcome those things as a general whole, the whole gamut from day one all the way through, that's what I'm most proud of, I would say, because I think that, no matter if I was still, making minimum wage or whatever, if I had survived and I made it through and the family is doing well, that's an accomplishment. And, I've done much more than that. So that's an accomplishment to me.
Well, let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into the 18-year-old version of you, and you could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on the life you've lived, the wisdom you've gained. What advice would you impart on that young version? And would that version of you listen?
Yeah, I think that younger version of me would listen. I wasn't that stubborn. I was stubborn, but not that bad. I would just tell myself to not stress so much. I've dealt with so much anxiety and stress and, it's going to be okay. I believe very firmly that when you get knocked off at the knees, it's okay that you sit on the floor for a minute, think about what happened, and plot your comeback while you're on that floor. Laying on the ground and feeling sorry for yourself isn't going to work. But you can sit on the floor for a minute, get your breath, get your bearings, and then, regroup and come back stronger. And that's the advice that I would give, because I did learn that, but I learned it a little bit later. And I wish I would have known that a little sooner, not to let those small things stress me out quite as bad when I was younger, and knowing that I will work through it.
So everyone out there has a perception of you, family, friends, colleagues, everyone around you, but you ultimately run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Well, I think I am a very strong, independent woman, but a very loving mother, and that's my identity, and I love that identity, that I am known for having my children and raising them right and being a good, strong parent.
So let's say we get off the phone here and a time machine pulls up in front of your house, and you can go anywhere in the history of time and see one event with your own eyes. Where are you going to go?
One event with my own eyes? Yeah. Do I get the chance to change the event, or do I just have to watch it?
Well, we can go down that route. I think that's pretty brave to throw a ripple in time, but let's do it.
I think that if I had the moment in time to look back and think about those things and figure out, and look at something, I think I would probably go back to when I first got married. I think my first marriage, and really kind of rethink some of that stuff, because I was young, so young. Just wasn't, if I could look back at that and make a change to that, I think I would. Could have been a relationship, not necessarily a marriage.
I totally get it. I totally get that. So if anyone out there would like to reach out, learn more about what you're doing, any of the good business in your life, where can they go?
Yeah, so my website is lesliealvarez.com, and you can reach me at leslie@communityace.com.
Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. It's a wonderful one. Keep doing the great work out there.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. Our esteemed theme music was composed and produced by the great E.E. Pointer of Kansas City's River Cow Orchestra. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.